All right, everybody. Thank you for being here and welcome to Lion Strong, the place where you get to become who you were designed to be. My name is Lyonel. I'm your host for the show. I want to thank you for tuning in for today's episode. I'm excited about actually bringing this one on to you. This is going to be a little different, I think, than the norm. But then again, I think I say this all the time, right? Because they usually are pretty different from the norm. So if you've been here and you've listened to me for a while, you kind of get used to that format basically of it. But today I wanted to do a little something, yeah, kind of different in a sense, because it really truly want to bring something to the forefront that's not really talked about when it comes to fitness. And that's that real connection that should be happening between the mind, the body, of course, and the spirit, right? That we always hear about that, mind body connection and all this stuff and whatever. And what the hell does that mean? That's some kind of esoterical bullshit, or is this like actual real thing that happens here? And I got to tell you, over the last 40 years working with the people that I have, seeing clients, experiencing things on my own, I can tell you that there's an absolute real thing when it comes to the mind body connection and the spiritual connection that comes with that, and really where that can take you if you allow that to happen. I think, though, with the way that I've seen the rest of the industry operate, is that that's not always present. Most people think that exercise is something that you do to quote unquote get in shape, to lose weight, to look better, to feel better sometimes. And most people don't really truly understand that if they look at it the right way or they approach it the right way, it could absolutely help enhance every area of life for them in ways that they never thought possible. So I want to spend, today's session really talking about that and how that connection can really truly help improve everything and where that could take you. So, I mean, I'm going to mention some personal things and probably speak about other experiences that I've seen to be able to help illustrate that point. But yeah, mind body connection, something we hear all the damn time. What exactly does that mean? Well, the idea there is that you're supposed to be able to feel and understand and see where one helps the other in everything that you do. But I don't think that most people realize that. We're also busy in our days, right? Going about what we're going through, experiencing what we experience, that we don't really pay attention to a lot of the things and signals and whatever that we get from the other side, right? Whether you want to call it our spirit world, whether you want to call it the universe, whether you want to call it God, all that, right? There's different things that are happening all around us that are giving us feedback. And for most of us, we're too busy in the midst of what we're doing to pay attention. But one time where it really should be a conscientious thing for us, where we should really be able to get those signals, is when we're in the midst of doing something that's fun for us. For a lot of people, the idea of exercising isn't fun at all. So even though that's supposed to be one of those that gives you the best connections ever, most people don't get those there because they're suffering through whatever they're suffering through to get to the quote unquote look that they want to have. And that's one of the first places where I think there's a mistake being made, right? When you're looking at exercise, it should be something that's actually fun and enjoyable for you. Because the idea of doing something to make you physically better, physically stronger, and then capable of improving everything else that you do in life, that should be the goal. However, that's not really most people's approach to exercise. So, first thing that I would recommend to you, if you're doing things that you're not necessarily enjoying, but you're doing them because of the bro science or because of the that's what I've always done type of thing or whatever. Start looking at things, man, that bring you joy when you do them. They could be simple. They don't have to be complicated. It could be something like roller skating, for example, or rollerblading. You wouldn't think of that as exercise, right? But that could be a hell of an exercise thing for you, especially if you haven't really been active and doing things. Now, why do I bring something like that up? Simple. Because when you think of roller skating or rollerblading, you don't think of exercise. You think of fun. You think of going out there dancing, doing some stuff? Because I remember back in the days, man, when the roller derby, when the roller skates rinks first opened up. Are you kidding me? I was there every day that I could be, right? For as long as possible, going out there, having blast, getting on them skates, doing all those things. But as much fun as I was having, I was also working my ass off in moving and exercising and doing all these things. And I didn't really understand that. I was just simply having a good time. I was simply enjoying the experience. So that experience, when we talk about a mind-body connection, I definitely felt that there because I was connected to source, so to speak. I was really truly feeling things in a way that very intrinsic and very like spiritual, I guess is a way that I want to use right for that. So that was really super cool. But then taking that into my quote unquote training sessions back in the days when I was actually doing the typical training things that most people were, I never felt those. Those were simply things that I did because I knew I had to. Yeah, I went to there. I was disciplined. I did my work. I did my stuff. But there was never this man like, woo, I felt like I was on cloud nine basically because of it. And maybe I was doing things wrong, but I don't think that's what it was at all. It was just simply doing some things that weren't necessarily enjoyable that I knew needed to be done. And we all understand what I'm talking about, right? Because we experience a lot of that in every other areas of life, especially in our work, especially in some of the other things, sometimes in relationships that we have with other people. We do things that we don't necessarily enjoy because it's for the greater good. It's to be able to get a benefit that we're going to get down later, but it's not necessarily something that we're getting a bunch of joy out of. That's part of being human. We understand that. But man, there is something about doing something that you enjoy that's actually helping you physically make a change. There's a connection that happens there that's really where I want to focus the attention on. That's this whole mind body connection that I'm talking about. And when you understand that and you can tap into that, not just in that arena, it can help transfer to everything else that you're doing and really help elevate your game in everything that you do. So I'm excited about kind of like diving into that. So, what's helped? Doing things that you enjoy, doing things that are different, doing things that challenge you, doing things that actually force you to stop and think will definitely help make that connection unlike anything else that you've tried before. So those of you that exercise, the things that you do are things that you could literally do with your eyes closed without thinking and whatever, that's not going to help you get there. So what I'm going to suggest to you is find something that could challenge you. Find something different that you haven't done before. Take up a sport, take up something that's quite unique, that's actually going to require you to stop, spend some energy and time into thinking about the process and then learning to move differently. I know that may sound like a big challenge. That may sound like something that you may or may not be able to do. But I promise you, when and if you do, you're going to find benefits in this in more ways than one. First of all, the physical benefits are great, right? Because your body is now going to be forced to utilize muscles that you probably don't use all the time to quote unquote activate and work in a way that they haven't done before. So that in itself would present a whole different challenge with a whole set of benefits that are absolutely unmatched like anything else that you can do. So I totally recommend that. But second of all, it also creates neural pathways that weren't there before, creates new connections in your brain and body that didn't exist before that are now going to translate to other things improving, even though you never worked on them. And this is the part that I think most people find fascinating when they start taking on something that's different for them, a different way of moving, a different type of exercise, a different type of training, and they start really getting into that and starting getting better at it. They start seeing other things that they do improve, even though they're not paying any attention on them. And that's again simply because of what's happening throughout the body, right? The connection between the spirit, the mind, so to speak, in your body is so much better now than it was before. You now have better control in other things that you didn't have. But then it goes beyond that too. It gets to transcend that a bit. Now, when you really start getting into things that not only just challenge you physically and really challenge your way of thinking and moving, but forces you to engage in a way that you didn't have before, all of a sudden now you start having almost these kind of like out of body experiences, right? You get into this state. You hear the word flow state a lot. That kind of falls into what I'm talking about here, where you get into the state where you feel like you're at one with whatever it is that you're doing. You don't have any set pattern per se that you're following, but you're just kind of going with the flow, so to speak, feeling what you're feeling and experiencing it or releasing it through your movements. And there's something cathartic about that. There's something that's so therapeutic in a sense because it really takes you to a whole different level. It helps you experience things in such a powerful way, and it really helps you connect on a deep level. People almost find it like meditation. It's almost like you're sitting there still and basically getting in touch with your higher self, but you're doing that while you're actually moving. It's pretty fantastic, and it creates a state of being that is unlike anything you've ever experienced before. But what's also great about that is coming back from that, you fall right into the hey, I can do things better because I can see things better. You have a sense of calmness that comes about you. You have a sense of peace. You have a sense of, I freaking know. You know what I mean? That comes about you. That's really unique and great. So I think it's so important to be able to take that on. So what could you possibly do that's different than what you're doing right now that can challenge you? Well, let's talk about tools that you already know. Tools like a dumbbell. You're like, well, I use dumbbells all the time. Yeah, I'm not talking about doing curls with your dumbbells. I'm not talking about doing the basic things that you've done with them, but actually figuring out how to use a dumbbell in a way where it'll challenge you unlike anything else before. So the first thing that I would recommend is whatever dumbbells you're thinking of, think way lighter. I would use something like 10 pounds or less to be able to do that, right? And just learn how to actually move in different ways with that dumbbell. So think about movements like throwing or other things that you do basically that will require you to use your arms and figure out how utilizing a light dumbbell You can help make connections in your movements that weren't there before so that you can understand basically how everything works. Spending the time to work on that, to try to understand that and help really connect in that way can make huge, huge, huge benefits for you in all kinds of other ways with things as well. Another tool that you can use, kettlebell. Same thing. You guys are probably used to using kettlebells already, right? You're like, yeah, I do kettlebell swings. No, you throw a kettlebell up in the air. If you're like most people that I see out there, you don't have a freaking clue how to do kettlebell swings. You think you do, but you really don't. And one of the biggest things that I see is people have an absolute, well, what's the word I want to look for? I'm trying to be nice here. Yeah, they absolutely have no damn idea what they're doing when it comes to doing an actual swing, right? Because utilizing their hips and doing a hinge is something that is foreign to most people, and they don't realize that it is. They think they are using what they should, and they have absolutely no clue what to do there. Because if you look around and you see everyone else moving, and I bet you that 99 of them are moving exactly the same way as you are anyway. So why would you think you're doing everything wrong? And it's a shame because it's such a simple thing. If people just stopped and paid attention to what they were doing, they'd realize that that wasn't the case. But again, that's not talked about. So we're not going to go there. But instead of trying to do those things that you've always done with them, again, take a light kettlebell and just learn to move differently with it, right? Just kind of learn to move on a different plane instead of basically trying to do things linearly like you always do. Try to do things in rotation, you know? In doing so, what you start finding is you'll make connections in your body that didn't exist before. But more important, you'll actually find yourself having fun doing something that's challenging in a way that you never expected. People have this misconception when it comes to trying to build strength, trying to build muscle, try to build things that it must be using really heavy weights in order to be able to do stuff. I'm the first one that's here to dispel that myth. I can literally wreck your day with a 5 or 10 pound weight. And you look at me thinking, how is this possible? Because you're so used to lifting the 50s and hundreds and whatever's. Incredible things happen when you learn to move your body correctly and you engage the right muscles. You don't need a ton of weight in order to be able to truly create something that's magical in your body when it comes to movements and results that you get. So I would totally recommend doing that. Other tool that you can use bands. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that are using them, but I'm not talking about using the booty bands doing the same things that everybody's doing in that sense. No, no, no. I'm talking about really just learning how to figure out to engage your body in a way that you haven't before. So any movements and things that you normally used to doing, think of doing something completely out of the realm of that and then figure out like what to do and how to move. And by the way, if you don't know what to do, reach out, ask someone, find somebody that's actually doing some of these things. Because if you look around, you'll find a ton of people out there are actually utilizing tools in an unconventional way to be able to make them work for them. So you reach out to any of them and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to help. And if they want, fuck, reach out to me. I'll tell you what to do. So you can actually figure out how to make this work for you in a way that absolutely makes sense. But yes, use bands, okay? Because they can really provide you a feedback that's very different from a lot of things. And it doesn't need to be heavy and hard. It just needs to give you that feedback in a way that forces you and teaches you to engage your muscles in a manner that you hadn't done prior, which will be beneficial in more ways than one. Other tools that you can use is a barbell. You've all used a barbell before in one way or another, right? Now, there are so many other things that you can do with a barbell. Like, for example, using them like a landmine. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's absolutely fantastic. The different things that you can do with that and the ways you can approach doing that that are also awesome. But you can also use it in the quote unquote conventional way, in a very unconventional way. Now, that's going to take a lot more explaining than that, so I'm not going to go into it right here. But man, if you have questions about that, reach out, ask. I'll be more than happy to give you some pointers on what you can do there. But it's such a powerful tool that if you use it right, can really make connections for you in a way that you never intended, that can really yield benefits that you never believed could be possible for you. The bottom line is there are so many tools out there that you can use. And then, of course, we get to some of my favorites, right? Clubs and maces. If you've never swung those tools before, go look them up. Those are the most basic, ancient, and powerful things that you can use to absolutely change the way your body functions. Make a connection between your mind and body that never existed before in a way that not too many other things can duplicate. So really powerful to be able to do that, right? So get to learn those tools, man. Get to implement them, apply them, work with them, and see how it can make a huge difference for you. And I promise you, when you start doing that and you start actually training in those manners and you start doing these things, first thing that you're going to notice is that your workouts are just now simply fun. You don't really call them workouts, they're more like play sessions for you. because you're going to figure out which tool you're going to play with and which one's going to give you the best result and whatever. And you just go out there and just have fun. You move around, you get your body doing things, you start realizing that you can move in ways that you couldn't before. It feels amazing. And oh man, the results can be fantastic. So yeah, when you start doing that, that'll be really cool. But you know what though? Out of all of those tools, no matter how great they are, there's one in particular that I think will give you the absolute best benefits of all when you truly learn to master that one tool. You ready? Your own damn body. That's the tool. See, so many people are afraid of actually utilizing their bodies for what they're doing, right? Because they're like, well, I don't have the strength to be able to do a pull up, so I can't do those. So, or I can barely do a push up, or I got to do them from my knees because I can only do girl push ups. Like, what the fuck are girl push ups? Push ups are push ups. I don't give a shit whether you're doing them from your knees or not, right? That's irrelevant. The point is learning to move your body in ways that are unconventional. And yes, doing pull ups and push ups are not unconventional, by the way. So, if that's what you're thinking of that you can do with your body, I promise you there's a shit ton more things that you can do that will absolutely wreck your day in a good way and make you better that have nothing at all to do with push-ups or pull-ups. And so my recommendation to you would be learn to get back on the ground and play like a kid. If you need what's the word that I'm looking for? If you need inspiration, right? Look at the kids playing. Just walk up to a bunch of kids that are out there in the playground and watch what they do, how they're running around on the floor and what they're doing and how they're doing, and mimic that. You can do that. Do that for 15 minutes. Do that for 20 minutes. And then tell me how you feel. You probably won't be able to move for the next 2 or 3 days, right? Because you'll be like, holy crap, I work muscles that I didn't even know existed, kind of thing, right? But it'll also feel really, really good. But then you go back and do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. Next thing you know, you can play with your kids in a way that you've never been able to do before. That's pretty mind boggling. It doesn't take much, just simply takes understanding how to make your body work for you. Now, there are things, by the way, and I mean, I know I have to say this with a grain of salt here. As much as I would love to tell everybody, go get on the ground, go crawl around, go play, go do this, go do that, a bunch of you would end up just fucking yourselves up if you tried because you already have issues that are preventing you from being able to get there. So trying to do that on your own is not necessarily the smartest thing to do, basically, if you don't really want to don't get hurt, not get yourself hurt. So I would recommend finding an expert that can actually help you learn how to do these things and how to move in these ways that can help you make a difference for you. Look, what I do and what the rest of us here do is just move in ways that are just simply fun. The idea of working out, I've given that up a long, long time ago. I simply come in here and then just play. I mean, I move my body in ways that are challenging as fuck, but they're also so much fun to do that even though I could be beating myself up like yesterday, for example, moving a 200-pound sandbag on all kinds of different fucking ways wasn't fun to do, but it was a blast at the same time. I don't know how else to explain that. I mean, just think about that. If you actually have to pick up something that's 200 pounds, that's not just one solid piece that moves around every time you try to move it. It's like a squirming body, basically, that you're trying to pick up. And, yeah, anyway, I let that visual sink in. You, you're trying to move a body that's not necessarily cooperating with you. And you need to be able to have not only the strength to be able to pick it up, but the ability and the know-how on how to be able to get down and get that. It's challenging in more ways than you can think. And when that damn body weighs more than you do, that makes it even more challenging than a lot of things as well. But at the same token, if you have the ability to be able to do that, no matter which way you go about it, it gets to be pretty fun. You get to feel pretty damn good about the fact that you can do something that other human beings might struggle with or might find completely impossible. Challenging, yes. Fun, absolutely. And it should be, but it doesn't mean that you have to go find a 200-pound body to go do that with. You can literally do that with anything. The point is just go out there, just learn to do something that's completely different from the norm that you've tried before, and let your mind get involved in that process. Really, truly think about the fact that every time you're going to do something, you have to actually think and be strategic in what you do. When you can learn to do that, man, it gets to be fun in such a different way. It gets to really give you that out of body experience, put you in that flow state where you just go. And what's amazing about that, when you're done with your quote unquote exercise or training or whatever you want to call it, everything that you're feeling, where your connection is at, that transcends to everything else that you do. So you're not just present when you're doing what you're doing, you're present in everything else that surrounds you. That is a great, fantastic way to live. And I absolutely recommend that you guys try that. There are so many little tools and gifts that I gave you as far as figuring it out. Go for it. Give it a shot. Give it a go. See what happens when you actually put your mind and body in the same space to work together, and see what happens when that connection is as strong as it could be and where that takes you. And then get back to me and let me know how that is. And if you need help figuring it out, you can't figure out how to do it on your own, or you can't find people to help support you in this, reach out, man. I'll be happy to help you figure that out on your own. I'll be happy to give you the right pointers, show you the right tools, and give you the right instruction, guidance, whatever you need basically to help you get there. Guys, this thing is fun if you let it be fun, or this thing can be a mother if you want it to be that. The choice is really up to you, man. You can keep going at it and grinding, quote unquote, to get there, or you can just simply go enjoy like the hell, like we have, and get the same or way better results actually by just simply enjoying what you're doing, because it is absolutely fun for you. My recommendation, make it fun. Get that mind-body connection going, guys, and make it happen, all right? With that, I'm going to say goodbye. Peace out. Thank you for listening. I absolutely love y'all, and I'll see you all on the next one.